I'm Paul Llewellyn, and welcome to Rainmakers, where we share the stories of those making a difference in their communities. On today's show, we are joined by Juan Alvarez, a dedicated community leader and member of the Brampton Spanish SDA Church. Juan is the driving force of Conexion, an impactful community initiative in Brampton, Ontario. With a background in the nonprofit sector working with youth, newcomers, and job seekers, Juan brings a wealth of experience and a deep commitment to connecting faith and service. Welcome to Rainmakers, Juan.
Thank you for having me here, Paul.
Could you tell me your name and a little bit of what you are involved in?
Of course. So my name is Juan Alvarez, and I'm part of the Brampton Spanish SDA Church, and I'm part of something called Conexion, which is a community project that we have every year at our church.
How long have you been involved in this initiative?
So I've been involved for about 2 years. The first year, which was in 2022, we decided to put together an event for the community. And the reason why this came about is because we were all reading a book called I Will Go. This is a book by Pastor Bujon. He's a really well-known pastor in Latin America. And it really called us to create disciples. So we could just be Christians and we go to church and we do what we're supposed to do. But what about the discipleship aspect? So when we came together for a church board, we decided to create an event for the community because there were many people in need and we wanted to be part of a solution, part of an impact.
Excellent. What is the mission behind Conexion?
So the mission behind it is simple. So there is nothing here, I would say it's innovative, but it's basically people working together for our neighbor to support others in need. So when I say people in need, it could be individuals who have no clothing, individuals who have no food, but at the same time, we wanted to involve professionals. So that would be lawyers, nurses, social workers, and we wanted the community to have access to those individuals. And at the same time, we as members of the Brampton Spanish Church, we wanted to come together and even help ourselves in a spiritual way.
Oh, all right. How does Conexion operate when you're preparing for an event?
So the way that it operates is that we put together stations. So whenever we have participants, they come to the stations where they actually could get the most help. So some individuals, like I mentioned before, they go there because they have a financial need. So they want clothing or they need food. But others, they might be able to afford food, but they're not able to afford a lawyer for 30 minutes because of an immigration situation or something like that. Others, they're undocumented, so they don't have access to help. So they're able to access registered nurses, psychologists, but we also have other people helping out, like barbers as an example. So that could actually put back a couple of dollars back into the people or the community's pocket. So it operates on an annual basis at this point. Initially, we thought it was going to be a one-time event, but the impact was so big on the community and also on us that we decided to continue.
Excellent, excellent. Who are the individuals or groups that contribute to the success of Conexion?
So that's a really interesting question because we're a small church. At that time, we were about 25, maximum 30 people, and the majority decided to help when we came up with the idea. But at the same time, a lot of the professionals that I mentioned before, they're not Christian, they're not Adventist. And that was very interesting because it's also another way to do outreach because we reached out to, like I mentioned, the lawyers and then some other professionals, and they came to the event and they asked us the question, why are you doing this? Who are you guys? So it gave us the opportunity to also speak to them and connect with them and be able to have an event that's outreaching to them in an indirect way.
So you're not just sharing Jesus and meeting needs of people that are coming in, the people that are assisting you, you're also meeting needs to bring Jesus and the good news of the gospel to them.
That's correct. And if I may add, something that was not intended, once we actually held the event for the first time, we realized that this created some initiative, or I would say some impact in ourselves as a church. And one of the, I guess, one of the byproducts of this was that we created a small group with the church, and it actually helped us develop like a more spiritual connection with God as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. Tell me, where is the Brampton Spanish SDA Church located? And is its location, does it help you reach the community effectively where it's located?
So that's a really good question, because it is not a strategic location. So
Okay.
it was very easy for the church members to say, you know what, this is not a strategic place. It's actually, even within the city, is located in a place where we were holding the event in a parking lot, so nobody could see us. And we don't have like a large Spanish-speaking population in comparison to, let's say, other parts of the GTA, like Toronto. So we decided to still do it. We didn't know if one person was going to show up or 20. And by the grace of God, more than 100 people showed up. And I say they registered, so they had families. So it was a lot more people. So it's not strategic. It's located in the downtown area, but it's a little bit hidden, I could say. But we could see God's hand in this, because many people came, even though it's not strategic. So whatever we think as humans, it is not strategic. To God, He could do miracles.
So being a mainly Spanish-speaking church, did you only have Spanish-speaking people come?
Yes, to be honest with you, that was the intention, because at that time, a lot of people were coming from different parts of Latin America.
Yeah.
They were undocumented, meaning that they're not able to access health services or legal help. To our surprise, we realized a lot of the people that we supported that were not Spanish speaking. That was amazing. We had people from like different parts of the world, Canadian born individuals, and people from different communities. So it was amazing.
Fantastic. Can you share a story of someone whose life was deeply impacted by attending Conexion?
Yeah, I could think of a different participants. One lady in particular, it really touched me, because she came to us to say, "Oh, what are you guys doing? What is this for?" And she wasn't looking for any food or clothing, but she just wanted someone to listen to her. And she was actually living across the church. And she said that she lived in a home where women were abused, psychologically, sexually, physically. And she just wanted someone to listen. And we listened to her story, and it was very touching. She was going through a lot of struggles financially, emotionally. And she said that she was thinking of giving up on life. And we know what that means. So even for that one person, like I mentioned before, it was not the intended audience per se. But even if it was for that one person that was touched, then I think not us, because we're just an instrument. God did His job. So it was amazing to be there, and we were able to connect her to a lawyer for her legal issues. But most of that, many of the people from the church, they were there to support her and listen to her.
So you're there as a community to support, and she's benefiting, and even though she might not be the intended audience,
Correct.
she's still across the street, and your church is ministering to her.
Yes, and it was also a calling for us in the sense that we have been in that church for over 10 years. She was right across the street, or maybe other women, and we had no idea.
Wow.
Like obviously, like a home like this, it would be kept secret. We understand. But it also says, like, what are we doing for the community? Do we know who our neighbor is?
Right.
What are we doing for them?
Wow. Is there another story from your work with Conexion that stands out, that has really big meaning to you or to other people within your church?
Yes, there's actually a lady. She came to the event. She didn't want to come in either, because she just wanted to say hello. But then she said that from her building, she would see us every Saturday come to church. She see that we're always like smiling and doing events, activities. So she said that even when she was standing by her window and she would look at us, she would be happy to see us. And I was like, okay, like I didn't know what to respond. I wasn't expecting it, because she was observing us, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But it made us meditate in the sense that we as Christians, we don't know who's looking at us, who's actually we're impacting in a positive or negative manner. So it was actually a good story, because the way that we carry ourselves, like I mentioned before, it could impact someone in a good way or in a bad way. So it's more like a reflection for us as Christians.
Oh, that's good to hear. I like that. Um, what challenges have you faced while organizing these community initiatives, and how have you managed to overcome them? What are some of the obstacles that you faced just to put on? Is it weather? Is it the government? Is it, the community itself?
There are many challenges because when you start a project like this, you don't know if 10 people will show up, 100, but at the same time, if those 100 people show up, do you have enough resources for them? So the challenge is basically coordinating and looking for people who are able to donate their time, to donate resources. But I guess when we walk together with God, like we don't see them as challenges because we know He's by our side. So one example could be like the lawyers. I remember I reached out to like so many lawyers in the GTA, Spanish-speaking lawyers, and they were all on vacation. They couldn't make it. And the day before, we kept praying for the event. And I remember I got an email like closer to like midnight, like nobody's working at that time, but someone said like, "Oh, this is amazing." Like the person was referring to me like she knew me for like a long time. "Oh, we want to be there, we want to participate." And it was like a paralegal who spoke Spanish.
Oh,
and she was there for 4 hours straight speaking to people, donating her time. The next year, the lawyer came, and now we have a close connection with them. And they're not from church, but yeah, that's how we see that. We have challenges, but when we work with God, like those challenges, they don't seem like big obstacles.
Wow. Can you recall a moment during Conexion when you felt God's presence guiding or inspiring your work?
Oh yes, like there was one that I can't forget, and you could talk to the people from my church. I'm not making this up. So the weather app, it predicted that it was gonna rain the whole day until 5 p.m. Now, the days before, it was raining like nonstop. The day came, we're supposed to set up the tents at 11 a.m. We said, let's just do it, even if it happens. So we worried for two things, obviously for rain, but then if it rains, people don't want to come out of their house. So to make the story short, the clouds throughout the whole day, they were really like dark. Like you could be like the most faithful person, but if you look at the clouds, you don't even want to talk to the other person or make eye contact because you know something human and negative will come out of you saying like it's gonna rain. But to me, this is nothing but a miracle because every time that would happen, we don't focus on that. We just like talk to each other, keep helping people, and the sun would come out. And at 5 o'clock, we put in things away because obviously we thought it was gonna rain. It started raining when we finished the whole project. So to me, I know people use the word miracle like a little bit too much sometimes, even if it's not, with all respect. But at this point, 5 o'clock starts raining. To me, there is no doubt that that was God's hand.
Wow. Wow. I love hearing those stories. What drives you to continue this work? And what is your motivation behind Conexion and the community service in general?
Yeah, so this is not something that, let's say I'm the leader, I'm the one. This is like a community event put by the church. We're just used by God as an instrument. But the motivation is the stories that I mentioned to you. But more than that is because I respect all the different ways that we reach out to people to get to know God. But there are many other ways that we could do those things. And one example is my mother. I'll just mention it briefly to get an idea. So with my father and my siblings, we went to church for years. We moved to Canada with nothing practically. And brothers and sisters from the church, they basically gave us furniture, groceries, and I was impacted in a way that I'm like, I want to do social services. I want to study this and I want to become like a youth worker. But for my mom, she wasn't part of the church. And when she saw that, she's like, this is the time that I want to give my life to God. So there are different ways that people come to God. Obviously, giving literature out to people, that works and I respect it. But not everyone comes to God the same way. And I think when you provide and you support the need, and then you talk about the other stuff, the doctrine, sometimes people might be more drawn to listen to you and to walk with you.
So Juan, in your view, what role should faith communities play in addressing and alleviating social issues?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it is a responsibility by the church and by the members to do that. And if I may, I just want to read a Bible verse here, and this is in Matthew 25:35, and it says the following: "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." So I think that those Bible verses, they say it all, that we should look after our neighbor. I understand church, it is easy to just come, see our friends, be comfortable, listen to a nice sermon, give our tithes, but at the same time, like, what are we doing for the community? And the example I provided before, we've been in that church, because I don't want to make it sound all positive and perfect, we've been in that church for more than 10 years. What were we doing for those women who were like a few meters away from us? What are we doing for the community at large? And even if we say we think we don't have a lot of people who might benefit in our immediate community, what are we doing for our city? So I think it is part of our responsibility as Christians to provide for others.
Oh, I love that. Love hearing that. I love the verse that you read, because that's what was my reading this morning when I woke up. The first thing I read out of the Bible was the same thing. And that's not a coincidence. Sometimes God wants to drive a point home, and I believe that you are doing that. I really believe that wherever a church is located, if we're not involved in the community, then we're just a social club.
That's correct.
And we need to be a church that are the hands and feet of Jesus. And what you read there, it is Jesus saying to the church, I want you to be my hands and feet. So if you're in prison, go visit. If you're hungry, feed. And it's so neat that your church is starting to really embrace that and to get with that with Conexion. So are you looking at that Conexion will not just be a yearly thing, will be something that you will do more often?
Yes, that's right. I think initially, like I mentioned, we thought it was going to be like a one-time event. But after we saw the impact in the community, in ourselves, we decided to make it into an annual event.
Yeah.
And there are efforts to make it like sometimes twice a year, but obviously it's a lot of logistics and we're like few.
Yeah.
But that's the idea, and we plan to keep doing it moving forward.
Great, great. You might even have to start a English-speaking Sabbath school for the community members.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about volunteering and community service?
Well, I think we usually think it has to do about food and clothing, those two things. But there are many needs nowadays, right? Like even we talk about Canada, we have a lot of inflation. Even people who were okay financially, they might not be okay now, but they might be afraid to reach out for help. So let's check on our members and also the community. Another misconception also is that people will just take advantage of the resources. But that shouldn't be a worry. We shouldn't be worried about people taking advantage, because we're not doing this for ourselves. Like, we should be supporting others who are in difficult situations, and we should have empathy. Because one example that I mentioned before, like when I came to Canada, we had nothing, and a lot of people provided a helping hand. So I think, like I mentioned, in terms of responsibility, if we are blessed, we should share those blessings with others.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there are a lot of misconceptions, but overall, once you become part of a community impact project, you will see the blessings in yourself as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. How do you see your volunteer efforts through Conexion as an expression of your Christian faith?
That's an interesting way of wording the question, because I think it's actually the opposite.
Okay.
I think my involvement in the community provides me with more faith. So I think it applies to a lot of us, because in the first year that we had the event, after we concluded everything, we'll be honest and be open and transparent here. The church members, because we're a few, everyone's going through their own issues, and spiritually we're not in a perfect position, right? But after the event, we decided to come together, support each other more, create a small group, meet every Friday, listen to each other's issues and see how we could help each other.
Yeah.
So I think that actually builds our faith. So if you or anybody listening to this is going through a situation where you feel like you don't have strong faith, start by helping others, and that will help you actually.
So how has this impacted the youth and young adults at your church to get involved in the community?
That's a really interesting question, because before that we had no youth.
Really?
So after the event, and I guess this is God's blessing. I'm not saying it has to do it has to do with human involvement here. We started getting like more young people come to church, and we actually opened up a Pathfinder Club that had been closed for many years.
Wow.
So this motivates everybody because anybody could help.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make a point here that's related to the questions that have been asked. And we think that we need like a specific skill to help. So you need to be like a lawyer, a nurse. And sometimes people, they say, Juan, but how could I help if I have no skills? But in the story that we mentioned, a hug, a smile, a good attitude, those things could go really far, more than any like university education or training that we need. But the point here is that when it comes to those skills, it could also be presented as part of your nice personality and welcoming spirit. And that's what happened. We had a lot of young people that came after because they wanted to be part of a project.
For viewers and even future rainmakers who are inspired by your story, what message would you like to leave with them?
I think that when it comes to us Christians, it is important for us to get involved in the community and also be able to let ourselves be used by God. And when I say that is that when you start a project or you have an idea, that's the toughest part to say, I'm going to do this even if it seems like it's not reachable, it's not doable. But once you start, you'll notice how many people want to help you, even people that you never knew. Because when we started this project, we never knew that so many people were going to come and support us. People donated like a lot of clothing, food banks that are not Adventists. They donated like so many food and supplies. So my message is simple, just like the slogan. I'm not going to mention the brand here, but just do it. Like don't think about it too much. Just do it, and God will help you the rest of the way.
Do you see the community being more open to you on a daily basis instead of just on a yearly basis now?
Yeah, I think before we didn't know anybody in the community, which is I could say it's a little bit tragic that we are there for so many years and they didn't know us or we didn't know them. So right now, yeah, they're more open. We even had some young people that they were so thankful. They were so thankful, and they said, how can we help you? What can we do for you? And we also had organizations in Brampton reach out to us, and they wanted to partner with us. And we're surprised because we're not a government-funded agency, or we're not a big organization, or we don't have big logistics. But that goes in hand with the message that I just mentioned. Once you start, God will start providing.
Wow. Wow, that's good news. Are there any other projects you have been a part of?
In terms of community projects, like before this, I used to work in the nonprofit sector. So I was involved in something called Sparrow, and back in the day, we used to do it with a lot of young adults. So we had the privilege to go to Belize. We also had the privilege to go to Honduras and work on some very interesting projects. But the most important thing is that whenever you support others, you actually help yourself.
Yeah.
So for the people listening out there, if you're doubting whether I should do this or not, if you actually go out there and lend a hand, you're the first person who's going to be blessed.
Fantastic. Those are words of encouragement. Love to hear that. Juan, as we wind down, is there any parting thought that you would like to give us? Is there a Bible verse that you would like to read that brings it all together and completes the work that you're doing? And
of course, yes. I have a Bible verse here that I think summarizes what we talked about. And it says on Hebrews 13:1, keep on loving each other as brothers. Do not forget to entertain strangers, for by so doing, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. So I think this resonates a lot with me, because when we support others, when we help others, when we lend a hand, That's what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
And we're doing it to Him in a way. Because if we don't, then at the same time, God feels that when we're here on earth, we didn't fulfill the purpose to support others.
Whatever we did to the least of these, we did it to Jesus.
Amen.
Thank you, Juan. I really appreciate you being here and your ministry at Conexion.
Thank you so much. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
Have you been moved by this impactful story and feel inspired to help us continue bringing these impactful moments to life? Your support is essential for us to keep showcasing volunteers making a difference. If you'd like to contribute to the production of Hope Channel Canada and its ministries, it's simple. Visit agentsofhope.ca, where you'll find various ways to donate. You can do it by debit, credit, Google Pay, Apple Pay, or send an e-transfer to agentsofhope@hopetv.ca. Prefer mailing a check? Send it to Hope Channel at 1148 King Street East, Oshawa, Ontario, L1H1H8. For a more personal connection, call us at 1-855-4-HOPE-TV. That's 1-855-446-7388. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Hope Channel Canada, and click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can also watch the show on multiple platforms, hopetv.ca, cable TV, the Roku app, and the Hope Channel app. Are you looking for answers to life's most profound questions? Hope Study provides free online Bible courses that cover essential topics such as faith, love, hope, and discovering your purpose, all at your own pace and from the comfort of your own home. One of our standout courses is Why is there pain and suffering in this life? This tackles one of those life's toughest questions and offers hope along with biblical insight. This study is designed to help you find meaning and understanding during challenging times. Signing up is easy and completely free at hopestudy.ca. Begin your journey today and feel free to share these valuable resources with anyone else seeking answers. Uncover life's answers. Visit hopestudy.ca and start your journey today.